2023, we closed out on Sportswire Radio, figuratively and literally with a bang, where we have literally half the British wrestling independent scene basically saying this, saying that, because the facts of the matter are they know that Sportswire Radio is the voice for all wrestling because all wrestling matters here. And our guest is going to be the first of many, many people here that we have on in 2024. And he was actually a really big part of things over in our friends at DBW's Merry Mayhem because he actually helped someone retain a championship, and he said he owed him one on that. So we're going to talk about that, maybe even talk about the fact that we even saw him in this magazine called Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which I guarantee you not a single British independent wrestler that bashes this platform or this show will ever be on. They'll wish it in their wildest dreams. But forget all about that. We start 2024 with a roar with our guest here who needs no further introduction, but because he's been on here before and he gets the first one of many in 2024, and we know the DBW locker room is going to be watching this very, very closely, he has to get that introduction, and I can't wait to do it in the first of many, many times in 2024. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one. Global Sports Show. They call him the Psychopath Jackson Sabre. My friend, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too.
Definitely looking forward to the first of many ones in 2024. And you're going to be a trivia question. You're going to be those that go, who was the first interview we did in 2024? It was the Salisbury Psychopath, Jackson Sabre. And Jackson, it's for really good reason. We have a lot to talk about with you. DBW, EBW. We're going to get into all of that, but I'm actually going to open up with something that a lot of people that might be coming back into Sportswire, especially what we've seen in the last 48 hours, are going to be like, well, why is he opening up with that? But I have to ask you the question that I've asked the last couple of people that have come on the show from DBW, and is, what do you think about Robert Pearson's haircut?
Dude, when I first saw the picture of the transformation, I mean, I'm already known for laughing, but I basically sounded like a hyena. Like it was such a transformation.
I still don't know. Is it the same Robert Pearson of Chaos Conspiracy that I had on Sportswire Radio, I think about maybe 3 weeks ago? He looks totally like I don't know. Is he really Robert Pearson? Is it a different name? Is it a different background? I mean, I don't know what to say.
I don't know. Like I can't tell if he's just if conspiracies are actually true and he got replaced by something, or he's just that weird.
Maybe it's I got an answer for it. I might actually appreciate this. Maybe it's because Chaos Conspiracy really didn't have any luck and any success at Merry Mayhem.
Hey, you said it.
We're throwing bombs on Sportswire.
You said it, not me.
We're throwing bombs on Sportswire. I'm going to have some announcements, by the way. I'm going to have some birthday wishes, so going to stay tuned for that. I'm even going to have a DBW announcement for us here in a little while, Jackson Sabre. But yeah, a lot to talk about here tonight on Sportswire. We're going to try and top the last couple shows. It's going to be very difficult, but I promise you we'll definitely do that here and some. But, Jackson, I want to get into it because obviously you've actually had a really interesting last couple of weeks to end the season in DBW. Obviously, you got a big win, maybe your biggest win to date in DBW over the Blaze Ace Christian. You kind of put him into his further tailspin that we've seen him on here the last several months. And then you're a part of the Anarchy title match. Okay, fine, you didn't win that match, but in the global title match that the It Factor Cyrus retained, for whatever reason, you came out and actually helped Cyrus, the It Factor, retain that championship and close the book on Chapter 2 over Van Hansen. And you had said specifically, you owe me one. So I'm going to open up with, as I said, to introduce you to come on the show here tonight. For those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the People's House for all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, Jackson Sabre. Why, Jackson? Why?
Well, let's clear one thing up. All the people say, "Oh, I'm teaming up with Cyrus." No. First off, no.
Why not? Why not?
Because he has something that I want. That's the very, very important thing. Now, why did I attack Van Hansen? First off, it's Van Hansen. I don't really need a reason. But if I had to give one, it was because, like, we already saw how phony the finish was between mine and his #1 contenders match. If anybody should have been in that match, it should have been me. And let's face it, if you rewatch Mary Mayhem, and you can take anybody who watches this, you can
YouTube, right? We got the link right underneath, and I've even
exactly. You can watch Mary Mayhem for yourself. It is live. Cyrus was out cold. If it wasn't for me, we could have been seeing a new DBW Global Championship. And to quote Sabretooth from X-Men Origins, nobody beats you but me.
Well, X-Men Origins, I will say, was a lot more interesting than Aquaman 2, The Lost of Kingdom, which I just saw in
I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
Okay, well, I'm not going to spoil it. I actually saw the movie twice. It was a little better in laser 3D, but still definitely not the movie I hoped for. But, all right, let me ask you a follow-up, and I'll get to comments in a second. People are starting to come in here shortly, and I thank everybody for tuning in. But hypothetically speaking, wouldn't it have been easier for you to, let's say, take that global championship from Van Hansen rather than somebody as distinguished in DBW as the It Factor Cyrus? I mean, couldn't I make that point?
I mean, you could, but at the end of the day, but you also got to think about it. I've also got something to prove. Like me, Robert Pearson, Jacob Cassidy, DJW, all the new fresh talent.
No, the EBW types that are coming in here, sure.
Exactly. Sure. We've all got something to prove. And in all honesty, what seems like a better notch on the belt? Toppling Cyrus for the DBW Global title or toppling Van Hansen?
But I would say, though, it doesn't matter who you topple long as you get the championship. What does it do?
That's very true. But I always say the biggest bounties reap the greatest rewards. So I think, hey, if I'm going to take out somebody, I'm going to take out one of the best. I'll give him his flowers on that.
He might now. Is he trying to call you now? Is he trying to say, you know what? What are you doing? Maybe is that what it is? Maybe the It Factor Cyrus is actually calling you.
No, actually, that is somebody else. So,
somebody else now. But I still stand by my point. Now, you think about the It Factor Cyrus, the run he's been on to end the season. When you think about DBW Mount Rushmore, he's right there with Mr. Judgment all time in the company's history. You could throw in Scorpion the Assassin. Maybe you want to throw in a few other names and debate them. Fine by me. But the facts is that Van Hansen is a guy that, with your size, your abilities, coming off a win off the Blaze Ace Christian that you did, I would still think, though, it would be far easier to want to go after and target Van Hansen than a guy in the It Factor Cyrus, to me, that I think you could arguably be making the case is on the best run in at least, I'd say, about 3 or 4 years in DBW that he's had.
You bring up very good points, but in DBW, let's say titles don't mean everything. It's about making a statement about why you're one of the top dogs here. And like you say, like everybody says, it gets lonely at the top. And if you don't keep an eye out, you start tumbling down. I'm the one about to yank Cyrus off that mountain.
You don't think, though, that with his experience, the run that he's been on, that he's seeing guys like you all the time? And
experience definitely gives him I've seen this before, but here's the thing. He's never seen and he's never faced anybody like me. Just watch the Anarchy Championship.
Oh, listen. we watched you in Thursday Night Thunder Punch right before that, and you scored. As I said, probably the biggest win to date in DBW for you over the Blaze Ace Christian. I mean, that's
As
a
I
win
said, I
that
was going to.
I give you that. Listen, there's no question. I give you your flowers. You definitely have shown of late that you have definitely had momentum. But I mean, I still say, does the it factor Cyrus, is he obligated to give you this match though? I mean, he's gonna obviously, he's come on here a couple times and he kind of operates on his own agenda.
You see, the one thing that will always eat in the back of Cyrus's head is that he knows I'm right. He knows I'm right. He knew that he was down. He knew that if it wasn't me saving his hide, Van Hansen would be the global champion. So he can thank me for allowing the Book of Cyrus to continue instead of ending it like the pathetic excuse that it is.
Well, you know what? I have tons of comments here. Let me get to some comments here, and I want to say hello to everybody out there. First of all, I want to give... Actually, you know what? Maybe I should do this right at the top. Let me do this here because I have a couple of birthday wishes, but let me get one out of the way and also give an announcement here. I want to say hello and also to give him an early happy birthday wish. Once again, Skulls the Soul Hunter out there from California. And Skulls has had my back here the last couple of days. I want to thank Skulls because Skulls put out there... He was saying things when there were certain people out there in another country, certain nobodies that were complaining and trying to tear down this station, tear down this platform, tear down all the great wrestlers that come on here from DBW. Skulls had our backs. Skulls, happy birthday to you. You were awesome. And I also want to announce coming up in the month of March, I know you're going to make your return to the ring. Right before that, to the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, because as he told me, Skulls wouldn't be back. Skulls wouldn't have a name without Sportswire Radio and yours truly. And we always make sure that we have our friends back, unlike that phony clique that's run out of the UK, the nobody companies that are never coming back on this platform. Skulls, you were awesome and amazing. You were going to be in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame in the first week of March. And happy birthday, my friend, and can't wait to have you back here. Just make sure you get better video connection next time you come on here. So speaking of people that always have our backs here, that is Big Tex. I'm going to get to Big Tex also because Big Tex just so those that are listening and watching, and you're going to be tuned in. I'll tell you why, because Saturday night, I believe around 10 o'clock Eastern time, Big Tex makes his return to Sportswire Radio, and he's going to tell us where he goes from here because he also talked about the fact that now he wants gold also in DBW, and he's going to talk about how he recovers from getting that Judgment Slam heard round the world. So Big Tex, he's here Saturday night. We're going to talk with him and some. I want to say hello to management in DBW. And by the way, DBW, please support them. Support this company because this is a company that has our backs here on Sportswire. This is a company we love, and I'll cover this company any day I get a chance to. 24/7 Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, Twitter at DBW Wrestling, and bonfire.com, /store, /dominant with a -sign, breakout, -sign wrestling. And I'm going to have an announcement about that store in a little while from yours truly, so hang on tight for that. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Ron Franklin out there. Ron from Pennsylvania. How you doing, Ron? Want to say hello to this guy. Says he's a huge fan of Jackson Sabre, but he actually
I appreciate that. I really
came on the show last night, by the way. Now, this guy's a trooper because his wife was actually on her way to giving birth, and he still wanted to come on Sportswire and say hello. So thank you, Joe. Thank you for tuning in. The Big Tex wants to say, Sabre, I know what you want, Cyrus. And yes, I lost the judgment, but I can also stake my claim to that global title thanks to that Rumble elimination. I will come back to that. I'm actually going to ask you a question on that in a second. Speaking to people I want to say hello to, the Blaze Ace Christian, who, by the way,
oh my God,
check out his match. But no, side point, check out his match in VTW against Chase Bridges. I mean, that match, I got to be honest with you, was better than almost like 70% of the British independent wrestlers outside of CCW that I've had on the show. So Blaze Ace Christian, I can't wait to see this guy tear it up in many different places. He is awesome. He is the man. Check him out. And by the way, I want to make the quick announcement here. Speaking of VTW, you might want to tune in because he's a guy also that has a championship now in DBW. He's the Hub City champion, and his name is the current VTW champion of the world, Aaron Jones. live on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the People's Radio Station, the People's House where all wrestling matters, 7 o'clock Eastern Time this Thursday. Aaron Jones is here, and he's going to certainly talk about, I guess, maybe his best friend, Chase Wakefield, but he's certainly going to talk about a number of things in DBW and VTW, and I know that you'll tune in. I want to say hello to another guy that definitely has my back, the Baltimore Kid, host of the Be More Talkative podcast. Thank you, my friend. Happy New Year. And speaking of people that we referenced at the beginning, it's the Bone Shaker, Robert Pearson. Hello, Brother Bryson. Jackson Sabre turned into a fighter jet pilot with that dive. Let's talk about it. You want to bring up the dive real quick?
Oh, man, the look on everybody.
I know. It was like that moment. I know. Good point. Good point. Thank you, Robert Pearson.
Like, oh, my God. Like, to see all those idiots hop out of their seats, I couldn't describe it even if I could, even if I wanted to. But
well, you're gonna have to try and do it again next season. You're gonna have to do it in a couple of months.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
I hope you can. I mean, it's one of those moments, right? One of those moments that you do.
One of those and stuff like that is why I say nobody can really, I guess, what I'm going to do, because I'm not your average big guy. I'm not.
Well, you're not going to be an average big man if you want to succeed in this company. DBW's roster, and I'll continue to say it, DBW's roster is bigger than most wrestling companies in the entire world. So in order for you to have success, you can't be an average big man, because you're not going to be able to go very far. You're not going to go many places. So
that's why I question people when they put big techs above me. I was like, because you don't see big techs being able to do the things that I can do. And
but
that
Big
makes me
Tex,
more
though,
dangerous.
he did hang in there with Judgment. He hung in there and gave Judgment a run for his money, and that's a point to be made. He hung in there. What have you shown against Judgment?
Wait till 2024.
Well, we're here now, so I'm going to definitely be waiting. I'm going to be talking
I'll
to
wait
you
until the season starts back up. You'll see.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to give you the benefit of the doubt because I like you. What's up, Tom? Just want to say, Sabre, you may have taken the opportunity presented to you. However, I'll be seeing you next year very, very soon. What do you say to that?
Listen, kid, if you want me to beat your ass again, I'll do it. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's got something to prove when it comes to me and you. I've already proven I can beat you and that I'm a man of my word. Just for the Blaze Ace Christian. I mean, Rev, am I lying?
You got to win. Listen, you know what? And we always say it here on Sportswire. The record books speak for themselves. It doesn't matter how you got there. The facts are the facts. I mean, you got to win over Ace Christian. It doesn't matter who interfered. It doesn't matter how it happened. You won the match, and it's a massive win for your career in DBW. There's no question that in DBW, you were definitely, because of that victory, a guy that's in title contention for something. I will, give you that.
Exactly. So,
right, well,
Ace,
I got many more comments ahead because I'm way behind. Speaking of people, though, that gives you a nod of respect, who we just mentioned, Mr. Judgment, the final boss, the prophet of purgatory, the most dominant big man in this sport right now, hands down. He says Jackson Sabre is impressive, knocking off Ace Christian, which I always appreciate.
Oh, hey, I always appreciate knocking Ace Christian around. All right. It's so easy, It's so much fun.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going to find out if it continues to be fun. The Baltimore Kid wants to say, my main man, the must-see global radio sports host, the one and only, the Reverend Tom Bryce. Good to see you, my brother. Hope the first day of 24 is treating well. Yes, I hope you feel better. I saw on your Facebook you posted something, so I hope you hang in there, my friend. Thank you for all that you do, and maybe we'll see you on Friday's regular sports show. But congratulations to you, Joe. Joe's daughter was born, because the story was that Joe came on the air right while his wife was going into, basically into the hospital in labor. And I never had that before. So that was an interesting moment. And that's why we want to thank Joe. And Skulls wants to say, I'm a legend. If you're not down with that, then buzz up. Yep. You know who you are. It's Rob Bagwell, that pervert, and Ben Hampton, that other guy, that loser. So, yeah, the losers out there in the UK that don't like what we're doing, you can definitely buzz off, and you can definitely say you pale. It's a comparison to great companies like DBW here. Want to say hello to our co-owner and general manager of Resurrection Wrestling, Mr. Joseph Tibbs, and we have more Resurrection coverage tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. In your chair, Jackson Sabre, is another big man named Mikey Anarchy. If you're a fan of deathmatch wrestling, you definitely know the name Mikey Anarchy, and he's coming live to Sportswire. I would address a couple of people, and one in particular that I think a lot of our listeners know very well of, and that name is Jimmy Controversy. Definitely name rings a bell to you, right, Jackson? I'm sure you heard that name, Jimmy Controversy. So, yep, we're going to have here Mikey Anarchy on live tomorrow night. Be there or be square. Right now, we're talking shop. If you really know DBW, maybe at the end of the show. But right now, I got a lot of stuff to go into, Joe. So thank you, and just enjoy the show. We'll get to Big Tex. You can't go down that route. The real reason I'm above you is because I can resonate with the crowd.
And look where it's gotten you, buddy.
Yeah, but I definitely want you on the show. Yeah, we'll definitely have you on the show for sure. And I also, Mr. Tibbs says that he stands with me. Thank you for standing with me. And thank you for everybody else. I don't want to make this all about that right now because I really want to get into business. But yes, thank you. And Resurrection, by the way, I want people to follow Resurrection Wrestling on Instagram at Resurrection Pro Wrestling. Also, Resurrection Wrestling on YouTube, TikTok. They have a show January 27th called Lockdown. One of their matches is a Cage of Hell match. It's between Jimmy Controversy, Mac 10, and Mikey Anarchy. That's a match we're going to be talking a lot about tomorrow, so definitely support them. And also, Mr. Tibbs wants to work with DBW, and they're right here. So management, definitely get in touch with Resurrection Wrestling's Joseph Tibbs. VTW versus the World Wrestling, Mr. Tibbs. Aaron Jones is going to be here live Thursday night, 7 o'clock, to talk all things VTW and DBW. All right, so obviously we got some of those comments out of the way. And also, I was wondering if I could come back to Big Tex, if you don't mind. Big Tex coming on the show Saturday, and I want to get to his original comment here, and the fact that he says now that he has more of a claim to Cyrus's title than you do. You've obviously said Cyrus owes you one, right? Correct? You said Cyrus
exactly.
owes you one. So what do you say then about Big Tex laying the claim that it's him actually that's owed the shot versus you?
If he wants to, he can. It's not going to make a single bit of difference to me because at the end of the day, that's just one more check off my list. I've got a, I guess you could say a bucket list of people I want to beat in DBW and Texas.
Oh, the bucket list. You know what? We're shooting the shot right now. We're live. You know that this is Sportswire, and people are here, and this is what they want to hear because this is where all wrestling matters. And who's on that bucket list?
Well, I've already beaten a couple of them. So I mean,
one of them you recently beat, obviously, right? And the Blaze Ace Christian would have to be on the bucket list. You beat him, so that's off the list, right?
Yeah, exactly. And ironically, granted, it wasn't in DBW, but I've already beaten Robert Pearson. I've already pinned Jacob Cassidy, so that's two more right off that list. I mean, obviously, you've got the obvious ones, Mr. Judgment, Cyrus.
But how about the new Anarchy champion, Azriel? How about him? Yeah, that'd be a guy I would think, right? That would be on your list. Big man. That's where maybe we could see, would the ring be able to hold you guys? It would be a match, forget about everybody talking about Brock and Gunther and everybody talking about this big man and that big man. Let's play about it for a second. If you think about the possibilities there, the size, the strength, the force, what you guys could put to the table. I mean, I would think that would be a match that would be on your bucket list to claim a title that you should have no problem taking, no?
I mean, he's definitely, Azriel's definitely on there. He's not high on my priority list, but his rankings did shoot up after he got that belt. So, who knows? We may see. We may just yet see.
Now, on that bucket list is a name I didn't hear, I would think would be on your list that you didn't mention, and that would be the It Factor Cyrus. Wouldn't he have to be on your bucket list?
I thought I did say him. If I didn't, then yes, Cyrus is on that list.
Okay, all right. So then you basically, though, anything else you want to say on this claim about Big Tex and to the fact that, he says again that he wants Cyrus, and you again have pretty much made the case. Any other things you want to say to him? Because he's going to get his turn Saturday. And he's promised, by the way, for those that are listening and watching, he's promised that he's got a lot to say and a lot to get off his chest. And I'm sure he's going to fire a shot or two at you.
Hey, listen, he can fire all the shots he wants. He's just better not miss. That's all I'm gonna say. But Tex, I've always been honest with you, even though yes, I'll admit I'm a prick, but I've never lied
That's
to you.
okay on Sportswire. I think
I've
that
never lied to you, Tex.
listen, that's okay.
You
You
do not
can
want
do that.
this. Stay in your lane. I say in your lane for now. And when I win the global title, you still want to bark up to me? That's fine. I'll put you back down where you belong.
Let me ask you, though, a question, if you don't mind. We're speaking here with Star from DBW and EBW, and that's Jackson Sabre. You can follow Jackson Sabre on a number of different platforms here, including Instagram and TikTok, and you can do that here right in those links. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. You know, you've obviously said, I'll put it in a nice way, that you're confident, right? You're very confident in your abilities, very confident in your success, right? But you know, we've had different people come on the show in DBW. In fact, one of them recently has been Cyrus the It Factor. Obviously, you know, Cyrus has come on here a couple of times, and, you know, he's obviously kind of laid into the fact that, you know, some of the younger guys that have come in, whether it's Chaos Conspiracy, maybe without mentioning you yourself, and, you know, you guys have been, you know, certainly boastful and certainly stated your reasons why you'd be successful. And I think we all, you know, appreciate that. And I think obviously your abilities, I definitely respect. I think as most of the, whether they like it or not, want to, the DBW universe would respect it. But I mean, do you think in a way that maybe you haven't really done what you say to back up your claims in DBW, at least? Now in EBW, sure, I definitely think in EBW, the body of work, I think that you've had success. But in DBW, to be as confident, or maybe to be as what you labeled yourself a few minutes ago, when you still haven't quite done enough to back that up, I mean, what do you say to that?
I say just keep watching DBW. Like, I've already displayed I have some of the very few of very little bit of what I can do in that ring. And yes, I'll admit I haven't been in DBW for a long time. I just started in 2023, but at the end of the day, you cannot deny.
The first time you were on the show, you've really only been here. You were here just as like your first season here. You were here for almost the entire season,
And yet, look at the impact that I have made already. You gotta think. Out of everybody that has, out of all the new guys that have appeared in DBW, who's the one that they're mainly talking about? Me. Who's the one that's immediately putting towards title pictures?
Big Tex just was in the main event, though. Whoa. I like you, but Big Tex was just in the main event of Merry Mayhem, which, oh, by the way, over almost 1,000 people have saw. He won that Rumble to get that shot at Thunder Punch. I mean, he really came out of nowhere. I mean, his story is like the true underdog story. I mean, this is a guy that basically, he had far less wrestling experience than I think anybody I've ever known that got a main event shot. I mean, he basically was shot out of a cannon. I mean, this guy, went toe-to-toe with a man right now that is nationally ranked in the world in Kings and Queens magazine. He went up against a man in the main event that has been a champion and a world champion in multiple promotions, and is the most dominant big man in this sport pound for pound right now. I mean, you know, I like you, but Big Tex is going to certainly say that he made a bigger impact than you.
And yet, Big Tex, yes, you're right. He was in the main event of Merry Mayhem. He did go against Judgment, this, that, and the fourth, all that. But at the end of the day, it's clear that his momentum is about as stable as Texas's power grid.
Well, yeah, I think you're the second person that actually mentioned that in the last.
What was the first one?
Chase Wakefield, actually. You know what? It was Chase Wakefield.
All right, well, we can just erase that for the history books. It's just Chase Wakefield. It doesn't matter. But
well, I think your pinky might weigh more than him, right? That was fun.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, that was kind of funny, but okay, let me get to some more comments here because people do want to say things. Let's come back to them. Skulls wants to say, since I like taking souls, I might just hunt that weasel from the UK. We'll come back to that. But, you know, now can I bring up a comment from somebody that you referenced owes you one? Would you mind if I brought up that comment?
All right, let's see what he's got to say.
Now, he just brace yourself for what he's about to say. It may not be what you think. So you still want me to bring it up?
Let's see it.
Our global champion, the It Factor, said, by the way, before I do this, now this guy, Cyrus, you may not like this. I want to give Cyrus a huge shout out because Cyrus talked about Sportswire Radio. He praised Sportswire Radio on Thunder Punch a few shows back. He basically said Sportswire is his home. It's his place. And you know what, Cyrus? I want to go on the record before I do anything. In fact, Cyrus, Sportswire Radio is your house. You're welcome anytime on this show, and you better believe that we 1,000% support you, sir, because we support those that always put us in a good light, and definitely I hope that it's chapter 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 that you finish, and you talk about all those books on Sportswire, and you know what, real quick, I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to shoot. This is not about you. Cyrus, the It Factor, whenever you come back onto Sportswire Radio, I am going to be honored to induct you into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Let the world know, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio and those that are fans of DBW, the It Factor Cyrus absolutely 1,000% is going to be in my Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and he should be in every other Hall of Fame out there. This man is going to be a Hall of Famer. He names the place. He names the time. We're going to induct him. Thank you, Cyrus, for that. But now going back to this, he's basically saying that you're boring the audience. I mean, that's a personal shot he's taking there out there. I mean, what do you say about that?
I'm boring the audience. I'm boring the audience.
That's what he's saying.
Listen to the crowds for my match at Merry Mayhem versus yours. That's all I got.
But he is going on the record and says that he doesn't care about the opinions of the crowd anymore. He doesn't care about them. He's here in the business of winning championships. He's here in the business to continue to write the story.
Well, you know what's funny is people tend to see what they hate about themselves in other people. He hates that I can do what he can't, and that's actually make people pay attention. Make people pay attention to what I can do. It's not, Cyrus is the same old thing.
Let me ask you a follow-up on that. You know how we talked about before where I asked you a question about confidence, and I asked you about, maybe are you, let's put it in a nice way, cocky, right? Are you saying conversely that the It Factor Cyrus actually has some insecurity or confidence issues deep down there? Is that what you're trying to imply just now?
Oh, most definitely. You can see it in his face.
How so?
He's trying to convince himself that this is the right way to go about it because this is his only shot left at staying on the island of relevancy, so to say.
But he's on it, though. You want what he has. He's definitely relevant. He's more relevant.
I'll give these flowers on that. Like, so far, his shot's staying true to the course for now. But
I mean, he's got a chance. Listen, he's got a championship right now. Let's be real. Let's do real talk for a second, like my shirt here, the real ones from Justin Parsley, one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions. Let's do real talk. DBW is a company that has almost 3,500 subscribers on YouTube. Merry Mayhem has almost 1,000 views seen on already, right? World War had over almost 3,000 views seen already, right? He's a champion. He's the number 2 champion in a company that, frankly, over the world, people see that has a worldwide presence that's almost as big as, or if not bigger than, almost every company that we have here on Sportswire Radio. He's more than relevant.
See, there's a difference between being relevant as a whole and being relevant individually. If he stakes his claim in the DBW banner, of course it's going to give him relevancy. But at the end of the day, how long can he actually take this ball and run with it with this global championship reign? Because I don't see it lasting long if I have anything to say about it.
So you saying that basically in a few months that he's just keeping the title warm until you take it, and you said in the first time we spoke with you that the young guys were going to start running things in DBW. Is that what you basically mean pretty much, sir?
Exactly. Like, you hear that? It's the winds of change in DBW.
Well, somebody cue the Scorpions song where they kind of went down with the whistling and you look like you probably would like that song. But all right, so let's come back to a couple comments. Daniel Banner, thank you for your support. I'm going to move off that topic actually because we really want to get into DBW, and obviously I beat that with a dead horse. I want to say hello to you, Ethan, out there in the UK. Yes, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. You were awesome. Thank you for your support. Let's come back to Big Tex if you don't mind. Sabre, my momentum hasn't been stopped. It hasn't slided or slowed down at all. And I can say I took Judgment to the limit. You couldn't even win the Anarchy title.
Okay, yeah, I'll admit I didn't win. But what actually sounds worse? Losing a 5-man match for the Anarchy title or blowing my one-on-one shot for the DBW World Championship at our last show of the year, possibly our most important show to cap off the year, and all I saw you doing was nothing but choking.
But I kind of agree. I'll tell you where I agree, and I'll tell you where I disagree for a second. So I'm going to tell you where I agree with you in that mathematically, you had only a 20% chance to win that match. So that's an understandable point. Only 20%. The odds are kind of against you. If it was one-on-one, if you were facing off with Corey Graves, let's say, for example, or DJW, or even, listen, maybe even Azriel, maybe you had better chances. I'm going to agree with you on that. But here's where I'm going to disagree with you on. Big Tex was in the main event. How many people can say they were in a main event? How many people can say that they were in a main event? And a main event, by the way, in a company that's one of the biggest companies right now in this sport, period. I mean, this is a company that's following is, like I said, bigger than pro wrestling companies. He can at least say he was in the main event. Listen, Paul Orndorff didn't win the WWF world title over Hulk Hogan, but he was more relevant than, let's say, anybody else that might have won championships and had a better win-loss record because he was a main eventer. He main evented several times. I mean, you could make that case for him. There's a lot of guys that haven't won championships or didn't win the big ones, but because they main evented far more than, let's say, the wins and losses on their record, that they would. That's the case I would make on that. What do you say to
that? Tex, listen. Yeah, I'll admit he can be. He can say he's been in the main event. That is a notch on his belt that he does have.
Of a company like this, he came out of nowhere. This guy came out of nowhere and he had no real wrestling experience. Didn't think he was ever going to be a wrestler, and he came within an inch of beating Mr. Judgment. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this guy is relevant right now. That's why he's coming on the Sportzwire Radio Saturday night.
Texas situation is nothing I haven't seen before. We've seen it with LA Knight and Roman Reigns. We've seen him with.
How about Ryback? How about Ryback years ago? Right, Ryback was undefeated, got the shot, and went up there against CM Punk and wound up falling short. I mean, yes, I agree with you. There are guys that were littered with that. Guys that went in there, and Umaga was an example. God rest his soul. Umaga was undefeated, went up there with John Cena. Sure, I definitely agree with you, but the facts are they're remembered in the history books as being main eventers. I brought up Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
I agree with you on the books side of it, like the statistics part of it. He will always have that to fall back on, but Tex knows that I'm right. He knows that as long as he surrounds himself with these idiots, and the same thing's going to be happening. He's going to get so close to greatness, and then something's just going to crash it.
Well, we'll certainly find out. Let me get to some more comments here. Daniel Banner, no, I actually don't drink Daniel Banner, but thank you for tuning in, and Happy New Year to you as well, buddy. And thank you for staying up with us. It's about 2:40 a.m. in the UK, so thank you. But let me come to the man that you've said a few things of Mr. Cyrus, if you don't mind. Island of relevancy, ? You need me to stay relevant. You needed Ace Christian to put you over the top to become relevant. Keep going strong, Rook. Maybe next time you won't need anyone but yourself to be relevant. What's your response to that?
Oh, Cyrus, I didn't need Ace Christian to do anything for me. Last I checked, he was the one that challenged me. He's the one that wanted to make an example of me, and yet he put his proverbial mouth in his metaphorical mouth. And let's just say history has a tendency to repeat itself there, Cy. So you can do all of this that you want. You can remain on your supposed high horse. But either way, that belt is going to look pretty nice on my shoulder in 2024. So keep it warm for me. Say whatever you need to say to yourself in order for you to sleep at night, because you know that the future is not bright for the Book of Cyrus.
We'll find out, Joe. I definitely want to wish you Happy New Year. I would love to obviously let you say hello, but we are talking a number of different things. So I don't know if this is the right spot to do that, but I definitely want to say that definitely hang out. Maybe we'll see what happens in a little while, but definitely if you do have to leave, I definitely want to wish your wife and your family very, very much love and well wishes and congratulations again. Ethan's going to ask you about a Christmas movie. Christmas is over, but thank you for asking. We're going to try to talk DBW and EBW right now, but thank you, Ethan, for your support. Big Tex wants to say one thing I will agree with you on: the winds of change are coming. But let me ask you a follow-up. Would you mind? Now he talks about the winds of change, though. But is the winds of change big enough for the two of yous, in yourself and Big Tex, for that change to be coming?
As long as he doesn't get in my way, I think there's room for everybody. For everybody who wants to stake their claim as the new generation of DBW, you can stake your claim all you want. Just stay out of my way, or else you will be another check mark on my list.
I want to talk about EBW in a couple of minutes, but I want to ask you a follow-up question because obviously we're speaking a lot about Big Tex, and we know that Chaos Conspiracy has increased in numbers. Right? We saw at the end of Merry Mayhem, we saw Corey Graves, we saw Pearson, we saw Cassidy, that they all kind of came out there and they went out there and left the ring with Big Tex. You've obviously had your issues in different promotions with a few of these individuals, especially Mr. Pearson and Mr. Cassidy. And I'm curious on what do you think about Chaos Conspiracy expanding in the numbers that they have? Do you think that that's something that might change their fortunes, or maybe, as you say, maybe blow the winds of change a little bit more favorable to for their patterns next season?
I mean, I can disagree with how Big Tex presents himself and what he does, but I'll admit, like, having a guy that size will definitely increase your chances on a lot of things. When it comes to wrestling, I will give Chaos Conspiracy that. I don't really see the reason of bringing in Graves. I don't really see what he brings to the table.
I'm going to ask you about that next. I had him on the show about a week and a half ago.
When it comes to in-ring talent, as a vet, yeah, he has some outdated knowledge, probably. But, again, I just don't really, aside from that, I don't really see any main reasons to want Graves on your team. It's like, I don't know. Big Tex, it's funny. You got all the profit with Big Tex. Now you're just bringing the straggler.
All right, it's interesting you said that because I'm sure you caught the interview that I had with Corey Graves a couple of weeks ago, and I had asked that question right before Merry Mayhem, and I said, well, Big Tex is certainly proven that he's a formidable guy. You may not agree with everything that he does or what he thinks about the fans, but he's certainly had some success, right? And then you look at Corey Graves, even Robert Pearson and Jacob Cassidy in DBW. Maybe in EBW, we'll get to that's a different ballgame. But do you think that those guys, and maybe especially Corey Graves, are kind of latching on to a guy that could be that wind of change for them in Big Tex? Because the other three, again, they really haven't had, Corey Graves, at least of late in DBW, has not had the same success he had 4 or 5 years ago when he was relevant. He was on that island of relevancy, you might say, and you were in the match with him for the Anarchy title. Do you agree with some of those questions I asked, and were you satisfied with Mr. Graves' answers? I'm sure I'll continue to ask Big Tex that, but
Graves, I mean, with Graves, I will admit I did show that he did belong here at some point. I could definitely see why people would say he belongs here, but to be one of the top players, to be somebody who can usher in this era of change, I just don't see it. I just see him being a nice, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, dummy. That's what it is. Like one of those training dummies.
That's like the opposite of nice. That's like the opposite. All right, I'll give you that. Listen, I'll give you that much. All right, I'll ask this question for Ethan. Have you had a favorite match in your career so far?
Favorite match in my career? Not. Ironically, as much as I hate these guys, I could actually say that my favorite match. I actually have two. When it comes to, I guess you could say when it comes to impact that I have made.
Okay.
One of them was in EBW. I cannot remember the show off the top of my head, because there's a lot of shows in
Yeah, I
EBW.
know you've done a lot in DBW. No, that actually, I'll actually vouch for you on that.
Like
That I
in
know.
EBW for the tag team championships, myself and Infamous Montana, Golden Dynasty tag team champions against Chaos Conspiracy. I will give
What?
I will give them that. They are talented. They are that, all this, that, and the third. I just hate them so much. They're just so annoying, grimy,
Do you think
whiny.
it's almost like you guys, in a way, almost like in sports, sometimes there are teams that just can't get out of the way with each other. It's almost like they're destined to always meet. You look at the last couple years, for example, the Chiefs and the Bengals met in the AFC Championship games. You're thinking about football right now, and you got teams like the Steelers and the Ravens always seem to be kind of cross-reference with each other. There's certain teams, the 49ers and Cowboys when I was growing up, they were the rivalry, the Yankees and Red Sox. I mean, is it maybe where you see yourself and Chaos Conspiracy, especially Pearson and Cassidy, it's almost like they're in the way of what you ultimately want?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like my thing is, if they just stay out of my way, I wouldn't associate myself with them. That's the thing. It's like no, they've always got like freaking mosquitoes in my ears. And what do you do with mosquitoes in your ears?
Well, you try to if you catch them. If you catch mosquitoes, if you catch them, you certainly.
Evidently, I haven't been able to catch these mosquitoes because they're still here and still buzzing in my ear. So,
well, it reminds me of an old song from Sammy Hagar, was the ex-singer of Van Halen. It was called Trans Am, and he starts singing. And the main verse of the lyric was "Catch me if you can." That's almost like we say Trans Am, we're a highway wonderland, and it's almost like you're going to try to catch Cassidy and Pearson if you can, but you may or may not be as successful. Also, I want to come back to before I make a few plugs because we're basically about halfway through the show. Unless you want to go all night, but I don't know if my voice would agree. Chaos Conspiracy died courtesy of the Dark Brotherhood. I mean, they lost to them, but I mean, Mary Mayhem, we saw.
Dude,
the numbers.
This you're only gonna hear me say this once. I actually felt bad for Cassidy in that match. Oh.
That was I know that I watched the match as well. That was,
bro. That Jesus Christ was brutal.
Well, listen,
even in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, damn, he didn't deserve that. Like, come on.
Well, don't tell me what the locker room thought, but I will say this. Watching that match, Judgment and Cyrus, they have a lot of history together, but when they're aligned, I mean, the history will speak for that self. Go into the DBW YouTube page where you can watch all of that. It's definitely, you can see why that these guys are still the old dogs. You can't get one past them. We are here on Sportswire Radio with none other than Mr. Jackson Sabre. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the people's radio station. I actually have to give a happy birthday because if I don't do this, Jackson, I'm going to be in big trouble. Well, I'm in big trouble anyway right at this point because I got UK wrestlers, knocking me down. I got companies blocking me, but I actually have to give my mother actually a happy birthday because her birthday's tomorrow. So I have to make sure I give her a big happy birthday because if I don't, well, I'll be further canceled. I may be canceled anyway, but I still got to give her a happy birthday because obviously there wouldn't be Sportswire Radio, right, if I wasn't born. So I want to wish her a very, very happy birthday. I hope she has a great day. And I thank her for obviously her support and giving birth to me because like I said, right, I wouldn't be here speaking to you. So obviously I got to wish my mother a happy birthday. I just want to make sure I do it because I've been on the air 5 years. I don't think I was ever on the air New Year's Day until now. I think even last year, I think I took off. I think I fell asleep all day. I didn't get up. Today, I was like, I'm going to be motivated. I'm going to get up. I saw Aquaman 2. I saw the Iron Claw. So, I mean, I definitely was motivated today. So I want to wish my mother a very, very happy birthday. So I want to make a DBW announcement because as I put up here, we have a link for the bonfire.com /store /dominant -breakout -wrestling. I'm going to announce it on the air as the host of the Sports Report, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, and the owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 radio station, the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am going to buy DBW merchandise here right after we're off the air. So I want to make that big announcement there. So hopefully people know that. I want to physically show my support because I was thinking about it, Jackson. I do a lot of DBW coverage. I got my XCW shirt. I got my WC shirt in the back. I got it when I do the DBW shirts. I got to have a DBW shirt on. So I wanted to make sure I support the company. Yep, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, anything helps DBW in the long run. And at the end of the day, depending on which shirt you're buying, it may help line my pockets a little bit more.
Well, I'm gonna definitely look. I'm definitely gonna be on the page the minute I get off the air. It's really, I'm really excited about that because I was wondering all this time. I've been covering DBW now for like 5 months, and I'm like, why don't I own a DBW shirt? So I'm like, you know what? I gotta solve that problem because certainly we can afford that on Sportzwire. So I wanted to announce that also, and we have more coverage again coming up tomorrow. We're gonna be here with Mikey Anarchy. Mikey Anarchy is here right before his match in Connecticut. The TF Crew is gonna be in the ring there for their first ever live event. Then he's going to be in the ring on January the 27th in a triple threat Cage of Hell lockdown match. He's going to be there in lockdown at Resurrection Wrestling against Mac 10 and Jimmy Controversy. I'm going to be back on the air Thursday with Aaron Jones. You know Aaron very well, so maybe I'll ask you an Aaron Jones question. Then I'll be here 9:30 p.m. Speaking of XCW with DJ Wolbert of Unholy, so I'm very excited about that. Then we're going to induct, by the way, as the 10th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Just call him Law because he's Captain Law, Jackson Law in different places. You probably heard of him. He's a very, very well-traveled man. He's basically made a home in XCW. We've had him on a couple times. We're going to induct him as the 10th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame because Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, we're going to induct Rob Maraska, an analyst here on the Sports Report for the past 5 years on Sportswire Radio, as the 9th member of the Hall of Fame. So I want to make sure I made all those announcements here. So stay tuned for more of that. I want to thank everybody for all of your support. January 25th is actually the 5-year anniversary of me starting in this business. So I really appreciate that very much. But we're here right now with Jackson Sabre. You know, Jackson, I want to come and talk about EBW for a few minutes because, as you may know, which I know you definitely know, on the EBW Pro pages on Facebook and Instagram, it was actually shown that you actually had a pretty cool thing happen to you and that you were actually mentioned in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And that's really cool because it's the second time I actually know somebody in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine, because my buddy, a man that's come on the show on multiple occasions, Vito Fratelli, this year is in the actual PWI 500, and you're actually in the magazine as well. And this was a magazine, like most wrestling fans, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I would regularly go to my candy store and I would buy the Pro Wrestling Illustrated so I could watch all the, get all the magazine results and get all the different photos of people. I really knew something about wrestling when I really obviously know zero about wrestling. So talk to us, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, and what did it mean to you to be featured in the PWI?
It feels like a goal being accomplished. It really does, because I knew it was just going to be a matter of time before.
Do they notify you on that? I'm curious. Do they tell you on that and such?
No, I had to find out myself. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But I'll admit, the match that got me into.
I know I was, shouldn't have brought that up, but you're still in the magazine. It doesn't matter how you got there.
Well, I'm in the magazine. I'll give myself that, but again, that's familiar thorn in my side. Jacob Cassidy is I can't do anything without them.
Well, look at it this way. I'm asking you first the question. Cassidy and Pearson are going to be back on, especially Pearson. But at least I get to ask you first on what's it like. You know what I'm saying? At least I get to ask you that opportunity.
Like I said, it's like a goal being accomplished, and it's just one step further into networking myself in the rest of the world.
Well, let me ask you then a follow-up on that, because I do want to talk about EBW for a few minutes. And conversely, you talked about, different things that you want to accomplish tonight. You spoke about titles. You spoke about bucket list. Maybe in a general question, as I've always been asking people this question over the past few weeks, I know you watched at least the DBW shows. What are your goals for 2024? It could be anything. It could be DBW, EBW. What are your general goals in 24?
My goals, at least in EBW, granted, I'm already the EBW Hoax Memorial Champion, but I want to show what I can do, not just as a member of Dynasty, but as a member of the EBW roster. Because I've been in Violence Unhinged, I've been in Golden Dynasty, and I wouldn't trade that time for anything. That Montana Fatal, Max's Fatal, Cash's Fatal. Those are my brothers. In all honesty, I wouldn't want to have this journey with anybody else. But, You know the phrase, a bird's got to spread its wings sometimes. And
Yeah, I mean, listen, we go back. We saw it with the Shield. We saw it with Evolution. We saw it with DX. I mean, eventually we think that Judgment Day is going to face this. The Bloodline certainly dealt with this at times. I mean,
and let me clarify something. This is not me saying I'm leaving Golden Dynasty.
no.
I'm nothing of the sort.
But I was going to ask you, what is the future of Golden Dynasty? Well, what is the future, obviously, when EBW returns? Where do you guys go from here and such?
The future definitely has hit some, or the present, I should say, has hit some took some bumpy detours, but I can say whether it's sooner or later, Dynasty, or the Golden Dynasty, I should say. Let me clarify so I don't get sued.
We don't want that at this point because obviously, for those that are listening and watching, I've certainly landed myself in the crosshairs of some people, whether it's deserved or not. So we definitely, don't get sued in Sportswire.
Golden Dynasty, whether it's sooner or later, we will reclaim our place at the top of the EBW division, whether that's tag or singles.
Would you say that you'll accomplish those goals differently than the goals that you look to accomplish in DBW?
Yeah, different federations require different tactics. Like, let's be honest.
That's why I asked that question, because obviously, again, you've had success. You've definitely had.
I think the biggest example I could say is Matt Cardona. Like, you think his arsenal in WWE, well, it definitely probably helped with the reputation that he perceived there, but he had to completely reinvent himself and basically come up with a whole new arsenal.
Oh, listen,
I mean, the indie god that he is now.
He came up on last night's interesting show on New Year's Eve where we were speaking about different people, and Matt Cardona basically reinvented himself the same way that Cody Rhodes did. And you think about also Matt Cardona. I mean,
great example.
He's done different things that, certainly maybe, widened his arsenal and shown, that, he said something the other day. I think that he made more money this year as an independent wrestler than any time in, WWE. So that certainly tells you that, you could certainly change that. Let me ask you, though, a question when it comes to, let's say, EBW that maybe would be different than DBW. Because you've had success in EBW, does that give you maybe more? I don't want to say, it's not confidence, I would say, because you've obviously shown me I've known you now a little while. I've had you on twice. I know you're confident. But in the fact that you've had success, does it make it easier to go back to the same well, or maybe kind of go to the same things that got you to the promised land in the first place? Almost like sometimes in sports, right? There are teams that have won, and it's easier for them to come back. Case in point, the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. They didn't win back-to-back, but they knew how to at least keep coming to the game or getting into the championship game. So they kind of knew what to do to win to that spot. The Patriots obviously be another example before that in the Brady years, all those years. They wouldn't win every year, but they pretty much got close and they knew how to win. They were experienced. In EBW, you've had experience. You've held gold. DBW still haven't got there. So is it kind of that way? You look back to the success that you've had in EBW and say, you know what? Okay, I've done that. I know how to get there, and that's kind of what you look to in order to get back to where you want there?
It definitely does help, but like I said before, like some tools are useful for other wrestlers in DBW because, some guy may have a similar style to this, like a guy in DBW could have a similar style to this guy in EBW. It's like, okay, I know I can kind of work with this. I can figure something out. But then you've got people that I've never seen, like people that are completely different. It's like, okay, I've got to actually go back to the drawing board on this. And yeah, I'll admit I'm confident, but I'm not stupid. I can't just go in there with the same old playbook. Like it's like the Ravens going with a playbook when Joe Flacco was still the quarterback with Lamar.
Well, don't get me started. Joe Flacco with the Jets looked like he should have stayed permanently on the couch. And now with the Browns, he's almost like the second coming of Tom Brady. He's got the Browns in a position where they legitimately could maybe have their most playoff success maybe since the NFL-AFL merger. So don't get me started on that. But obviously, I would love to see what you do in EBW. And conversely, is there anybody else in EBW that you haven't faced that you might want to face coming up in a few months?
In EBW,
yeah.
Honestly, there's just one more hurdle for me to truly say that I am the most dangerous big man in EBW, and that's Mr. Drink or Fight himself, Roland Havoc.
Well, I'm so glad you brought him up because I was kind of waiting for that because this is an excellent segue because obviously we know Roland Havoc. In fact, I'm actually going to probably say this. Maybe most of the locker room would probably know this by now, but Roland Havoc is the reason I got into DBW. I had Roland Havoc on the show through our coach of Sportzwire Radio, Chris Craven, who I think was at the World War show, maybe the shows right after that. And he was obviously a member of the BWA Hall of Fame. So him and Havoc and AJ and Colin Graves go back for a long time. And, Roland Havoc, you talk about him, maybe you catch him at the right time now because in EBW and DBW, he's lost a little bit of late, especially in DBW where he lost that World Extreme Championship, which he held for just about a year before a guy, Jackson Snow, took that title from him. And he certainly has been very impressive with that since. So you know what? Is it fair for me to say, in a way, kind of tying a bow into EBW and DBW, that maybe you catch Roland Havoc at the right time and he's ripe for the picking?
I could definitely say that, even though I wouldn't say he's lost as much momentum as you say, because just recently in EBW yard, he actually very recently toppled James Crimson for the East Coast title. So, yeah, that just gives me more of a reason of why I want to face Havoc. Like, not only to make a statement for myself, but honestly, I mean, a belt's a belt. Like, why not add one more to the collection? Am I right?
Hey, listen, you know what? What do we always have asked recently on Sportswire? Do you want to be cheered and do it for the fans, or do you want the gold and the money? And at the end of the day, it's about the gold and the money. And if there's a way to get gold, you got to get gold. I mean, that's, certainly, listen, if anybody hadn't seen Iron Crawl, that was kind of the, big part of that. I want to say hello to, before we come back, to our buddy Adonis Felios, the Drip King. He says, evening, Tom, Mr. Sabre, and Happy New Year, Sportswire Radio fans. And of course, Adonis is a part of the Wolfpack Hour with Drake Silverwolf. Drake Silverwolf was on the show yesterday in his Wolfpack Hour show, Drake Silverwolf, and Skulls basically did a big monologue about me. So thank you guys. Happy New Year. Thank you for your support. And Adonis, make sure you support DBW in the links below. Dominating Breakout Wrestling on YouTube, Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling. Also, buy a shirt, bonfire.com/store, /dominant, -breakout, -wrestling. That's what I'm going to be doing right after we're off the air. So I'm looking forward to that. And I definitely am looking forward to some DBW merchandise. But thank you, Adonis, for your support. But then let me ask you then conversely, okay, so Roland Havoc, you want a match with Roland Havoc, but you want him in EBW.
I don't care if it's EBW, DBW. If it's EBW, I get a belt because at the end, we both know. I shouldn't say
DBW, you want Cyrus right now, so it makes no sense for you to go to Havoc in DBW because you want Cyrus. That's why I'm saying EBW.
Yeah, that is true, but yeah, I could. Yeah, let's just go with that. Yeah, let's say.
Because I would say right now, from your position, from the way you've been tonight, ego's beneath you. They don't have an ego anymore in DBW because, I mean, they've pretty much lost everything. I mean, Ace Christian, the Blaze couldn't get the tag titles for them. Havoc lost the World Extreme title. We know that AJ's out. Even though AJ said he's coming back, he's going for gold. I mean, Colin fell short. I mean, so at the end of the day, I mean, ego right now has got no ego at all.
Exactly, but there's still one shining light in ego, and that is Roland Havoc.
Yes, but he still lost what he held for a year, and he's still.
Yeah, that is true, but with Roland,
like you right now, because again, you've said that you want gold, you want Cyrus, and ego right now is kind of like you're above them right now because of what you've done recently. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's true. But okay. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like. It's just, I don't know. There's something about Roland that makes him stick out than any of the other little morons in ego.
Well, let me ask you. All right, so you know what? We're speaking here with Jackson Sabre, and of course, Jackson Sabre is one of the premier up-and-coming standouts for our friends in DBW. If you haven't followed him, please do so here on Instagram at official Jackson_Sabre. Also TikTok at Jackson_Sabre. make sure you go support this man. Jackson Sabre is an up-and-coming star here for sure in the world of wrestling, especially places like DBW and EBW. And again, Jackson Sabre, our guest, this is a big way to have him on. The man's already famous. He's already in this little magazine called Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So this is why we saw, we could have had anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we could have had anybody that wanted to come on tonight. But who do we choose as our first guest of 2024? The Salisbury psychopath himself, Jackson Sabre, because this man was in, again, this little magazine called Pro Wrestling Illustrated. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? But coming back to Roland Havoc here for finishing out the show here. And obviously, I know people are distracted right now because The Rock has returned to WWE. That's why I see the numbers on YouTube drop a little, because people are like, "Oh, The Rock's on." I love Tom and I love how he shoots and everybody. I love the new Tom. I love the new Edge, but The Rock is back, so totally understand. That's okay. I'm going to be back plenty more time. So will Jackson. But let's talk about Roland Havoc. You certainly are an up and coming wrestler. And I know Cyrus is a big deal, and I know obviously Golden Dynasty still a lot to talk about, but wouldn't it be an even bigger cap on your resume to have defeated and toppled a Roland Havoc, a legendary Roland Havoc, a guy that will probably be in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame and should be in other Hall of Fames, and to topple him maybe would even be bigger than an Ace Christian, or maybe in a way more extreme than an In Factor Cyrus?
I mean, listen, you can never have too many giants to slay. I mean, for one of my favorite Marvel villains, for example, is Kraven the Hunter. It's like he doesn't specifically just go after Spider-Man. He wants to prove that he is the greatest hunter alive, whether that's the Lizard, whether that's the Rhino, or Spider-Man. He wants everybody as a trophy to stake the claim that he cannot be hunted, he can hunt anything, and he is the greatest of all time. And that's something that I really resonate well with.
I could see that. Yeah, based on those characteristics, based on what you want to accomplish. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that, you're going to be a guy that we're going to be watching here for sure in 2024. And I think we're all excited about, EBW and DBW returning. I mean, I'm kind of like sad because, I've been covering DBW at least. ABW we speak about, but I haven't covered EBW as much. But DBW, I watch every DBW as Thursday Night Thunder Punch or the premium shows. And now we kind of have to wait a couple of months until DBW returns. So I kind of have to ask you, I mean, like, what do you do then in order to keep the momentum and to keep yourself as the Salisbury psychopath locked and loaded for this 2024 that you won? So what do you do here in the lead up here to DBW's return? I mean, there's kind of like this break maybe comes at the worst time for you, Jackson, because you got a lot of momentum in DBW right now, and now you have to wait like 2 or 3 months. I mean, I'm curious on that.
I mean, it definitely sucks. When having a break just when you're finally getting, I guess you could say your feet in the ground and are actually what's the word? What's the phrase?
Well, it's like in sports, for example, if you're a football fan, last year the Lions win, I think it was something like 6 of their last 8 games and just missed the playoffs, right? If the season was a couple more weeks, they would have made the playoffs. If you would have had a couple of more shows in DBW right now, I mean, based on what you're saying, you probably could be either the global champion, the Anarchy champion, the Hub City champion, because right now you kind of are getting enough momentum that, you know what? You very well are kind of hotter than some of the other people right now that even hold gold in DBW, some may say.
Exactly. So, yeah, it does. I suck for this break, but at the end of the day, this just gives me more time to plan battle strategies, plan different tactics. Just I had to think about how I would actually want to dethrone all of these supposed giants and legends and icons in DBW, while also keeping myself intact to become more dangerous, more brutal, more calculated. This is not so. Yeah, there may not be any DBW ring time, but it does. The year doesn't stop just because the tapings do.
Let me ask you this question. And you come into DBW this year, right? It was your first year in DBW, and I don't know how you go about it. I don't know. I always speak with a lot of different people. I speak with college athletes, I speak with coaches, I speak with different people in different walks of life, right? But I'm curious, do you approach the second season going into DBW differently than the first?
I mean, you have to. You got to keep everybody on their toes because, like I said, if you're just going in with the same playbook every year, people find chinks in the armor. It's like, okay, he's doing this. Okay, go for that. You can block him. All that is like, yeah. Obviously, some tactics I can say because they work, but you've also got to evolve with everybody. You stay stagnant, that's when you die, or that's when you lose.
If you stay the same, you're never going to go anywhere. You obviously
Exactly.
you have to change with the times. I completely agree with you here. Yeah, I know, Ethan. I mean, right now Jackson Sabre is focused on DBW. If he can get to WWE, he'll get there. But I will say DBW's following, to me, is almost as big as WWE's because their last show got almost 1,000 views, and they have 3,500 subscribers on their YouTube page, and that's why you want to follow them on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, Twitter at DBW Wrestling, and check out their merchandise store at bonfire.com /merchandise Dominating Breakout -wrestling. So one more time, bonfire.com /store Dominant -breakout -wrestling. That's what we're focused on because DBW is the place to be, and this is where all wrestling matters here. We are here with Jackson Sabre for about 15 or 20 minutes. I know everybody's kind of turned in now. They're kind of turned away because they saw The Rock has returned, and everybody was speculating on that. But we're here with Jackson Sabre for the first time this year in 2024, the first of many appearances here. We're very, very excited about the future of Jackson and very much excited about the future of DBW. So let me ask you this question, obviously, about DBW going into 2024. Have you got a chance to reflect overall on how the year went in DBW?
Yeah, I did actually. And in all honesty, when it comes to wins and losses, my record's not very special.
It's not Chase Wakefield's record, who basically came on here last time on the show, said he won them, I think, the second most matches behind Judgment in DBW. And he said he deserved the title shot. So I got you, but you got a big win to end the season.
Exactly, like that's the thing. But you also got to think about, yes, there's wins and losses, but you also got to think about the impact that you made. And in all honesty, I think I made the biggest impact out of a fair few amount of people in DBW.
I would say of the new people that came in, let's say Cassidy, Pearson, let's throw in Antonio Arias. Is Arias?
I think it's Arias. I don't know.
You know what? I think even people in the locker room agree with me on that one. So at least the locker room seems to like how I say that one. But a number of people, DJW, somebody else, of the people that came in to DBW this year, I would say that, yeah, you probably made more of an impact. But, I was curious on something, if you don't mind. A name that we really hadn't talked about that I'm going to have on the show Thursday. I'm going to have him on 7 o'clock. He's the VTW World Champion. He's also the new DBW Hub City Champion, Aaron Jones. And I'm surprised that you didn't have Aaron Jones on your bucket list. Here's a guy that holds a championship of a company that's one of the biggest companies around this sport. Here's a guy that won 2 titles in 2 nights. Here's a guy that's even a pro wrestler and actually just was hobnobbing with some guy Bobby Fish you probably heard of. And I was surprised on why Aaron Jones wasn't on your bucket list.
I mean, I never said he wasn't. That's the thing. Because, yeah, Aaron Jones does have a very great resume. Like you said, I didn't
say that. That I didn't say. But I was surprised of the names we were talking about. I'm surprised tonight he didn't come up at all because he's, to me, at the top of the mountain. Another guy he's actually a pro wrestler. He actually is a pro wrestler. That's why I was like, Aaron Jones would be a guy I think that would love to see you go and tangle.
And ironically, I can't. I lose the source of it originally, but somebody actually asked him a question when it comes to people he wants to face in DBW. You can see a few certain names on that list.
Well, I have him here 7 o'clock Thursday. You mind if I bring you up? You mind if I have a chat with him about you?
It's your show. You can do whatever you want.
It was rhetorical. It was kind of like, this wasn't like, hey, this was actually like, no, it was actually like, we were going to bring you up because, he's the Hub City champion there. And it's obviously, he's a champion there. And, I know you're focused on Cyrus, but I mean, that would be a really unique match, I think, you and Aaron. And that would be a match. I think that the real boss man, the Salisbury psychopath. You think about this for a second. The real boss man, the Salisbury psychopath. I mean, you really want to talk about the forces colliding. You want to talk about basically heaven and earth being moved. I mean, this would be a match. I would think that you could basically make that a main event in any promotion. That's actually a main event.
I could actually see that too. Especially, and I like that especially because it has main event, where I belong.
Well, you know what? We're going to see if you get there. And somebody wants to say, all right, Jackson Sabre. So obviously, hi to you too. And I think I know who you are. So you want to say all right as well back? What do you want to say?
I think somebody messed up your name, dude. I think it was autocorrect or something because I'm pretty sure that's Dominic.
Oh, well, he put Dominique. So, I mean,
Yeah.
It's Dominique, right? Okay, well, I mean, but are you all right? Do you feel all right tonight? Do you feel good? I mean, I guess I should ask it. Do you feel all right? I mean,
oh yeah, I feel great. I feel great, man. Like,
it's DJW, yes. And how you doing, DJW? We're supposed to have, I believe, DJW on next Saturday. I think at some point we have Big Tex first, and we're going to try to put Dominique on after Big Tex. So if you like DBW next Saturday, you're in luck. And we apologize, by the way, if I can. I want to apologize to DJW because we wanted to get him on Saturday night, but unfortunately, I did a show where we inducted the 7th and 8th members of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, Omen Black and Soldier GP, and my voice was like shot, and I basically literally I had my phone blow up about the interview because there's a rift right now, and somebody said something about boycotting the platform, and I basically turned it into other things, and it turned into a whole thing, and that's why we'll bring you back on Saturday night, DJ. So message me and we'll make that happen again. Thank you so much. So let me ask you then about DJW. Anything you wanted me to say to him on your behalf? I think you want to say to him right now while we're live on Sportswire, and I look forward to
I've really got nothing to say to DJW. I mean, I guess thanks for being such a great crash pad for the dive, I guess. I
could ask him about it. I could ask him about it.
I mean, you could.
I will. I thank you for letting me know. In fact, if you want, I would love to have you take the microphone over because I'm actually looking for, when I get canceled in a couple of days, literally by the wrestling mob in England, that somebody could take over the show. And you speak pretty well. You do a good job. So maybe you'll take over for me.
I mean, hey, I just got one question. What's the pay like?
We could talk about that off the air because I don't know if I should talk about the whole payload thing. But yeah, you never know. I mean, listen, hey, I mean, maybe we can make a deal. I mean, but I may have no choice. But okay, we'll talk about DJW for sure. I think after Big Tex. So if DJW is around Saturday night, we can make that happen. I'll be on with Big Tex. Maybe we can even do DJ before Big Tex. Tell me your schedule. We'll make that happen. Again, I'm on with Big Tex at 10. Maybe we can have you on before that. Maybe we'll even do both guys kind of back to back, almost like we used to do them like that on Sportswire. So maybe we'll do something with that. But obviously, again, as we're coming up toward the end of the show, I mean, is there anything in particular that you might want to address to anybody else as like your final words? It could be DBW, EBW. Is there anything that you might want to say directly toward anybody else out there?
No, I think I've said everything that I need to say. And if I do have anything to say later on, I'll just show it in the ring. That's all.
Okay.
Because the phrase actions speak louder than words is something that I believe in heavily.
You know, it's funny because my father used to always tell me that word when I would get in trouble. As you know, I get in trouble a lot. And he would always basically tell me that. And I would kind of be looking at him like, huh? I guess now, and I wish I would have listened to those words, right? Because I wouldn't be in the predicament that I'm in. But Ethan, I guess I'll answer this to you. You really haven't been in DBW that long, but I'll give it to you anyway. He wants to know if you had a favorite feud in DBW, maybe through this season, if there was one. What would it be?
Favorite feud? I mean, in all honesty, I guess the as short as it was I had to say Ace Christian because
That's the biggest one that you had. Yeah, biggest one. I think that's kind of the gist of it here. So I actually have one. I have one more fun DBW question, real quick. One more fun DBW question before we get ready for closing thoughts and such. And obviously, we're here with Jackson Sabre. Jackson is going to have a big 2024. He is a part of our roster in DBW. And DBW's roster, I mean, you're talking about a roster of, I think, 35 people or something like that now on DBW. DBW is the place to be. You can follow DBW on a number of different great platforms, especially on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, Twitter at DBW Wrestling. And also, if you want to buy some merchandise, like I'm going to be buying some merchandise right the minute we get off the air, you can do that here very easily. You can do that at bonfire.com, /store, /dominant, -breakout, -wrestling. So make sure you go out there and support DBW, bonfire.com, /store, /dominant, -breakout, -wrestling. You can also check out Jackson Sabre on Instagram and TikTok, official_Jackson_Sabre. TikTok, Jackson_Sabre. I'm gonna say, Jackson, is there an official Jackson Sabre already on TikTok, and that's why you couldn't use the official on TikTok? No, it's just, you could maybe say that, but I guess that I was going to ask you a fun question, maybe in a way to kind of, I guess, maybe lighten the mood or not. But, I'm sure you caught it since the last time you were on the air. We were talking that there was different guys in the locker room having Yu-Gi-Oh games, and there was different, Yu-Gi-Oh card games going on in the locker room. And I got to ask you, I have a pretty good feeling, and I pretty much heard this from, some in the locker room, that you're a part of those games. And, who comes out in the upper hand usually in those Yu-Gi-Oh games in the locker room?
Well, see, that's the thing. Is like I run one particular deck, so it's like
I knew that. I knew.
It's like one of these days, like I could be bringing Phantom Knights, I could be bringing Branded Despia. I like to keep people on their toes.
That's always a good thing. You know what? Because there's so many decks out there now, and I think I said it when I think Big Tex came on the show. That's where it all came up with Big Tex. I played Yu-Gi-Oh for years, and then it was basically like I went to college, and I started getting a job, and I still have my decks out there, but I haven't played in so long. So obviously, we'll keep an eye on that for 2024. So obviously, we've spoke about a lot tonight. I think we could certainly ask you probably more questions, but they're most of the same. And I think that we've kind of got a sense of where you are. You want Cyrus. You want that shot. Van Hansen. It wasn't about Van Hansen. It's more about Cyrus. It's more about making your claim at gold. You've obviously got some other things you want to do in EBW. Certainly Golden Dynasty. You guys want to spread your wings a bit. You guys aren't breaking up. Chaos Conspiracy is still in your crosshairs, especially in EBW. You've said a few things about them. In DBW, Ace Christian, monumental moment. Roland Havoc, you want in EBW. We spoke about the PWI magazine being in that. What an honor that was. We spoke about also Aaron Jones for a little bit. We spoke about maybe some goals of 2024. We reflected on the season, how you train. We spoke about Mr. Judgment even for a few minutes. We gave shout outs. I said a few things further on some of the things I went on, but I think we also pretty much made the point out there. And I think at this point, I'm going to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? And the Salisbury Psychopath, congratulations. You were the first of many people to come on this platform in 2024. You are going to be a trivia question. I'm very much going to remember that. And I know you're going to be on here a lot more in 2024. So I'm looking forward to it. And I am going to definitely feel weird these next couple of months because there's no DBW coverage. I will say that it's going to be weird these next few months because there's
yeah, definitely
very weird. So you'll have to come on more often, but give me the floor and your closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, say, fire away.
Closing thoughts. I mean, obviously people will always say I probably could have ended a year a bit better. The only thing that I would have changed for my first run in my first season in DBW is I would have wanted to end the series with an Anarchy title win, but other than that,
you made an impact though. But you did make that impact in that match for the global title.
Yes, I did. That's the comforting thing and all that. So, Yeah, you've got all this, but there's always some that's like, yeah, but I also could have had that. I'm happy with
But
this.
you know what,
But
though? Listen, we talk about that all the time. You're never going to be 100%. Even the people at the top, you talked about those at the top, and it's lonely at the top, whether you're Judgment, whether you're Cyrus. So nobody's ever going to be fully happy. Nobody's going to be fully satisfied. But I think what I'll remember most about you in DBW is that the last 2 times I saw you, you made an impact. You beat Ace Christian. You held your own in that Rumble. No question. You did hold your own in that Rumble. You definitely did very well there. You also stood up to guys like Azrael, who is our current, champion, the Anarchy champion. And, you cost Van Hansen a championship and, certainly said that Cyrus owes you in that, you want something. So I think that what I will remember is that you did make your presence felt. And I think that that's, in the defensive you is that wins and losses may not have been what we hoped for, but in terms of presence and impact, you ended the season with a bang and you have something to look forward to go with the locker room and plan for about 2.5 months from now. And I think that that's what we're going to remember most right now.
Exactly. And I appreciate that. I really do.
And I appreciate you coming on this show. And you can follow Jackson Sabre again on Instagram at official_Jackson_Sabre, TikTok at Jackson_Sabre. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the People's Radio Station. You can follow DBW on Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, also Twitter, DBW Wrestling. If you want to buy merchandise right when I get off that air, that's exactly what I'm doing. And going into the DBW merchandise store at bonfire.com, /store, /dominant, -breakout, -wrestling. We will be back on the air here tomorrow starting 7:30 p.m. British Standard Time with Gareth Angel, now of Kingdom Wrestling. It'll be an interesting one because, I said some things about Gareth on the air, and I'm sure people are looking forward to what I have to say there. But obviously, Gareth has been a supporter of us here. He has a great company that we're looking forward to when it comes to the rebranding of GT Ministries now into Kingdom Wrestling. They have a show coming up next weekend at the Fountains Church there in Bradford. We'll talk about how they're going into a charity, so I'm excited about that. Always excited to speak with Gareth Angel and his platform and his background. Definitely one of the companies that will continue to support out there in the UK. And also, I will be here 9 o'clock Eastern Time with Mikey Anarchy. That's going to be one. I promise you, you will not want to miss Mikey Anarchy, 9 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow to talk Resurrection Wrestling, TF Crew, and some guy, Jimmy Controversy. My friend, Happy New Year. Congratulations on ending the season with a bang. I'm looking forward to speaking with you in 2024. And by the time you come back on in a few months, maybe we'll have solved the answer on why did Robert Pearson get that haircut. Which I think that was the other thing that we spoke about.
Honestly, I don't think any answer is going to be sufficient.
Well, he's coming back on the show within the next month. So I'm going to be asking him that question. So don't touch that dial. Stay tuned. Ethan wants to say thank you for the stream. It's been fun. Thank you for your support, Ethan. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for everybody that has supported us here on Sportswire Radio. Thank you to everybody that's backed us up here. Thankfully for everybody that's backed us, because this is why it's the people's house. Thank you for all the love. I can't thank enough everybody that has backed us, and especially DBW and this guy here, Jackson Sabre. If you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on Twitter and YouTube, I will see you tomorrow. And if you're also on sportswireradio.org, you will be going back to wrestling coverage with the Work in Progress, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. That is our internet radio station. So if you like music, if you like talk, if you have a podcast that you want to play out there, definitely let us know and we'll play it. And any other selections that you have here for the station, I'm certainly looking forward to all of that here and some. So until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.